This thing is hosted by Soledad O'Brien, who, like, I have her as National Treasure Soledad O'Brien, but I have things to say about her.
Yeah. Yes. Agreed. Agreed.
We'll get there when we get there, I guess.
You know, I think a lot of these times it's just an uphill climb when you're reading the copy and you're doing this. They want you to turn on that stupid journalist accent. It's just us, Soledad. Just talk to us. We're just here. It's not our fault. She didn't do anything wrong.
Hey, Julian Pensavali.
Hey, Patrick Hines.
We used to say each other's names all the time, and then we stopped doing it, and now I'm bringing it back. I'm kicking it old school, as they say.
We used to sing it, though.
Let's just do it right now, then. Ready? Jillian Pensavali.
Patrick Hines.
Ba-da-da. I did the hands for Jesus. You didn't follow me. It's fine.
You know what? Speaking of people not doing anything wrong, not unlike Soledad O'Brien, I am innocent here. On all counts.
You guys, before we get to the episode, just a reminder, join us on the Patreon for more fun, laughs, good times. What are we doing? Oh, we're doing The Vow.
We just finished Fear City.
Yeah.
Before that, I'll Be Gone in the Dark. We did Tiger King, Don't F with Cats, and now we're doing the GD Vow.
The Vow, you guys, The Vow is that Nexium Bananas documentary on HBO. It is so crazy. I'm actually Googling because I don't know how to help myself. There's so much I have to know.
Yeah, the thing is, just don't join a cult and you'll be okay.
I am in no danger of joining a cult. Every single time I watch these things, I'm like, I am in no danger of this happening to me. Mostly because everyone who joins a cult is like a 9 to 10 on the scale, so I don't think that they would be interested.
Okay. Save it for the Pates. And also not true. Stop that.
I'm fine with it.
That's my friend Patrick you're talking about. Don't talk about her like that.
If it keeps me safe from the cults, I am happy with my hard 5 status.
Please, stop doing that.
You guys, can you tell it's a bit? It's just a joke. I really think I'm very handsome.
Good. You should.
You guys, it's patreon.com/truecrimeobsessed, or go to our website, click on the Patreon link. Merch for Jesus. Every dime of our merch goes to charities. What are the charities, girl?
Yeah, we're doing women's rights, LGBTQ rights, Black Lives Matter, and animal rights.
Yes. Get yourself a t-shirt or a hat. You know you want to let the women do the work hat. Who doesn't want that?
Or like a sticker or a magnet or or whatever the website offers. I can't say or whatever, ... because then I'd be lying to you, and I don't want to do that.
No. Girl, what day of quarantine is it?
Oh, a zillion.
Okay.
Or 2. I don't know. Time is a construct. I don't know. I have no idea. Are you real? What's happening? Am I just talking to myself? Is anyone listening?
Girl, okay, I was going to ask you what we're talking about today, but I feel like it's a little confusing. So is it okay if I just explain it?
Go ahead, girl.
Thanks, girl. So we're doing a thing called Chandra Levy, Who Killed Chandra. Now, when I was researching documentaries for us to cover, I thought this was a standalone documentary on the Oxygen. It turns out that it is not. This is an episode of a show called Mysteries and Scandals. And we might come back to it because there's other really interesting things in that list of episodes that they made.
Yeah, the good thing is when you watch this episode, it also comes up as a standalone thing. It's like one episode of Chandra Levy, Who Killed Chandra. Yeah. And it's not like you have to watch every episode of, Mysteries and Scandals to follow, because they do just stick to this case.
But you guys, I've got to say, National Treasure Soledad O'Brien. Soledad, if you're listening, I love you so much. But
hey, girl.
I'm just saying, the way this is shot is a little awkward. It kind of feels to me like in the opening, when you're telling us a little bit about the case, you kind of don't really know what to do with your arms. But then I was like, what would I do with my arms? Where do they teach you that?
They don't teach you that. But as someone who has done on-camera hosting before, whether you're either walking or doing whatever, no one tells you. They expect you to know. And no matter what your option is, it's always, yeah, but not that. Right. So I know from experience, Soledad is doing her goddamn best, okay? Yeah, I have more issue with the copy.
Yeah. The copy's bad. I also don't love the direction where, there's 2 cameras and Soledad is talking to one of them, but, we're seeing the side angle. I think that was a thing they tried in TV documentaries in the early 2000s that didn't really work out very well.
No. Mm-mm.
She was a driven young intern in the most powerful city in the world.
Washington, D.C., it's a magnet for young, ambitious people.
For Chandra, it probably was like going to Hollywood and being discovered.
Chandra Levy made some influential friends.
We're getting information that Chandra had a connection to this Congressman, Gary Condon. Chandra had finished up her internship and she was getting ready to move back to California.
Then she suddenly disappeared.
This is serious. We need to find her.
A year after she went missing, Chandra was found, murdered.
The shock. Can't relive it, it's already too hard.
Why were there setbacks in the police investigation?
The detectives went on her computer to check her search history.
Were mistakes made? By whom?
Turned out to cause problems later.
What happened when the case went to trial?
I pointed to him and I said, "Did you kill my daughter?"
Did Chandra's real killer get away with murder?
He was a big suspect.
This is a story that made national headlines and is still one of the biggest mysteries ever to come out of the nation's capital.
There's probably a credible witness out there who knows something.
So Soledad really gives us a rundown of the case sort of right at the top, right, girl?
Yeah. So it's May 22nd, 2002.
On May 22nd, 2002, the badly decomposed body of a young woman is discovered in a remote area of Rock Creek Park in Washington, D.C. This victim has been missing for a year. Chandra Levy was a 24-year-old grad student who'd landed a prestigious internship in the nation's capital.
It's horrible. It's a really bad description. It's a terrible case.
Are any of them great? Are any of them like, you know what, you guys are going to really love this one?
I do have to say, Long Shot had a happy ending. It was shitty in the beginning and middle, but it ended happily and in and out in 45 minutes. Again, Long Shot. That's how you do it.
That's all we're asking for, you guys.
That's it. But I would love to never say these words again. A badly decomposed body of a young woman was found in a remote area called Rock Creek Park in Washington, D.C. And this woman is named Chandra Levy.
Yeah.
She's a 24-year-old grad student who's been missing for a year. She has this prestigious internship, and right away, the press is like, oh, Gary Condit murdered her because he's a congressman and they were having an affair. Immediately, instantly.
After Chandra disappeared, the press reported a possible relationship with California Congressman Gary Condit. Condit has always maintained they were not romantically involved.
We're going to get to that piece of shit Condit in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So we meet this guy, Michael Doyle, and he is the Washington correspondent for McClatchy News. Look, McClatchy's a big deal. It's like a very prestigious outlet. This guy's neck is so long. He has the I noticed it the first time, and then I was like, he's part giraffe. Like, this man's neck. Later on, I give him a nickname because I couldn't remember his real name, and all I can tell you about this guy is that his neck is real long.
Really struggled with Michael Doyle, did you? That was... just couldn't get there.
I mean, I'm not great with names on a good day, but throw me for a loop like Michael Doyle. I'm supposed to remember Michael Doyle?
When it comes to names throwing people for loops, you ain't seen nothing yet, TCO listeners. Just hang on to your hats.
Oh my God, sit tight. You guys, it gets, on that front, this becomes a fucking stand-up comedy routine down the road.
It's a 3-ring circus. Also, circuses are bad. Save the animals. Fucks, don't go to the circus ever.
Yes,
but this Michael Doyle guy is like...
Washington, D.C., it's a magnet for young, ambitious people to come to make their marks. It's a thrilling town. It's filled with power and intrigue. And every summer, it's overwhelmed by interns much like Chandra.
DC is a magnet for ambitious people trying to make their mark. In the summer, it's flooded with interns. And like, he really wants us to know what a happening hot spot DC is in the summer for young interns. And I'm like, girl.
We meet like 8 million people in this. One of the people we meet is a woman named Michelle. She's Chandra's classmate and friend. And she's one who tells us that Chandra was interning with the Bureau of Prisons, which they say was like totally in line with what she wanted to do. Her dad tells us in a minute that she wanted to like work for the FBI.
Yeah. So we meet her parents, Susan Levy and Dr. Robert Levy. And they're like, yeah, like she was on her way. She was exactly where she should have been to be someone who wanted to work in the FBI.
So we meet her friend, Sven Jones, who's like her friend and coworker. And it's so funny. I'm like, how are you her friend and coworker? You're so old. And I'm like, oh, no, you're the age that Chandra would be if like people weren't garbage and she hadn't been murdered in a park.
Sven's not that old, girl.
I know. He's like 40, which is younger than me.
Just in defense of Sven, for you to be like, he's so old. He's not.
He's like, he loves this podcast and he just heard that and got really offended.
I got you, Sven. He's so old. How dare you? So the thing is, like, Sven and all these friends are like...
Chandra was very energetic, lively, positive. She certainly wasn't reserved or shy.
Chandra was living her best life. She was
Yes.
fully immersed in this scene. She was going to all the work events. She was socializing, truly living this DC intern life. And then on May 1st, 2001, she disappears.
Yeah, and so now we meet Detective James, and he sort of tells us like the setup for like her going missing. So she had finished her internship and she was getting ready to leave to go home to California, and like she was seeing people and saying goodbye. The timeline on this is a little fuzzy for me, but she was scheduled to be back in California for her May 11th graduation from USC. She was a grad student. She was like 23. She was 24 when she went missing, 23 when she started the internship.
Right.
She had emailed her parents a few days before to say that she like was packed up and ready to go. Something to keep in mind, and this is like been a real education to me doing Obsessed with Disappeared. Back in the early 2000s, people did not communicate the way that they do now.
Yeah.
So we're gonna find out that like she wasn't in a like constantly texting or calling her mom. That wasn't a thing in 2000 or 2001, whatever year this was. So that at first was very weird to me that they would go days without talking. But then I'm like, oh no, that's like what the world was like back then. It's not like that now.
Yeah, it's been like 2 days and I haven't texted my mom. Should I text her?
Yes, you should text her. She probably thinks you're missing.
You're doing the Italian thing. Call your mother, okay?
Call your
her.
mother.
Call your mother. So we meet this guy, Ralph. He's the author of the book Murder on a Horse Trail, which is the book about this case.
He's also the first name I didn't write down, just for the record.
Who do you think you're working with?
I know.
Gotcha. So Ralph says that on May 1st, Chandra was up late looking at the Amtrak schedule, I guess, to take the train from DC to California.
Which doesn't make any sense, because I was like, is she afraid of flying? We'll find out in a minute she's not, because she'd been flying back and forth all year. And then if you look at that train ticket, like the ticket itself was like $300 and the accommodations were $1,100. I was
Really?
like, Chandra, what kind of fancy sleeping car did you book for yourself?
Oh, interesting. Because
know.
I would like love to take a cross-country train
Same.
trip. So to me, I'm like, don't love the flying. I'll take a train anywhere. Like,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
you're right, because we get to the flying. Okay, I'm with you.
Just again, like the timeline is weird. And why is she taking the train to California? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Right. So we're still at May 1st, right? She's looking at the Amtrak schedule.
At 4:30 in the morning, there was a 911 call placed to the police from her building. The neighbor said, I just heard a scream. The police came and responded. They looked around, they didn't say anything.
They call 911. 911 shows up, and then everyone's like, well, this was fun. Nice meeting you. Good night. Like, there's like nothing happens at all.
I can't decide how I feel about this. Like, was that neighbor great? Can you imagine if you called the police every time you heard somebody scream in New York?
If I did that today alone, I would have called 911 28 times today alone. We're in quarantine. I'm here. I still have the guy who drives around the block blasting New York, New York. He's still here. We got the kids crying. Why are they so loud, I wonder? We got the horns honking. It's a traffic jam. No one is on the streets, but on my street, it is Mardi Gras every day. I don't understand it. It's St. Patrick's Day parade every goddamn day outside this window. Oh,
you okay, girl? You okay?
It's been a lot. It's been a lot. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm waiting for my Apple Watch to be like, girl, you're sitting and you're screaming and your heart rate's boom, 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 boom.
Oh my God. So nothing comes of this. So we to this day don't know if that scream was Chandra or not, or maybe it was just a coincidence. So her dad tells us that he's like,
I called her May 1st or 2nd when she didn't answer her phone. And then I called her after that and kept calling and never got an answer.
After 4 or 5 days, Dr. Levy was going increasingly distraught at Chandra's dropping from sight, called Washington police, said that his daughter had not been heard from.
I think they had a call twice. The second time, the police did go by and discovered that she wasn't there.
So Chandra's been missing for 5 days. Her father calls the Washington police, and someone says to us, like, looks directly in my face, has their finger in my face, basically. And it's like, oh, they had to call twice. So they had to call the cops twice, because I guess the cops the first time were like, whatever. So by the second call, finally, they send someone to Chandra's apartment, and she's not there. And then they have to get a search warrant to search her apartment.
So they go into the apartment, and here's what they find. The apartment is very tidy, but there's a blanket on the floor. We get a theory on that later. They find her computer, put a pin in that, we'll get back to her. They find her wallet, her keys, and her cell phone are also there. So when she left without any of her shit. She just left.
And she was in the middle of packing. Like the suitcases are open, like she was in the middle of something. And how many times have we heard this? The person's missing, but everything they own, like the keys, wallet, phone, ID, things you would never leave leave without are all still there. We've seen this 100 times.
Yeah, and how often have we heard this? Detective James goes,
People have to remember that adults are allowed to go missing. If they had walked into her apartment and found blood all over the floor, then it would have been a full court press. But it didn't happen in this case.
Detective James, don't do this, girl. No one ever leaves on purpose.
Right, and even if they want to leave or whatever, they take their wallet with them. They take their keys with them, whatever. Even if she was leaving forever and ever.
Right, yes. She's taking her wallet. And then he says, when we went in there, if there had been blood everywhere, it would have been a full court press. To which I said, why does it have to get to that point, detective? Doesn't that mean it's too late? If there's blood all over the fucking walls, aren't we too late?
Isn't it still weird that she's in the middle of packing, everything she owns is still there, she missed her graduation and her parents haven't heard from her in a week?
Yeah.
Could you give a shit?
I know.
Anyway, is that not curious to anyone? Is it just me screaming into the void again?
You and I would be great cops. I know.
Like, what are you like? That it's still not weird.
I know.
And you have the 911 call about to scream.
I know.
None of this is weird to anybody. It's just business as usual. Great. I'm in the fucking Twilight Zone again. Jesus Christ. And here we go again. This is like the great, whatever. It's not the greatest hits because it's all terrible, but everything we hate about cases like this.
Yes.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Goddamn security cameras here. So by the time they get the search warrant, which is days and days and days and days, the security cameras that have a perfect view in and out of her building have, of course, been deleted and recorded over. And someone says,
In a case like this, had they jumped on it right away, they would have probably recovered more video.
if they would have started looking sooner, they would have had that footage. Just saying.
I know. And I just have security camera reform now. You guys, look, you know what? Add $20 a month to everybody who lives in that building's rent and don't record over the tapes. It's all digital at this point fucking anyway. Put it on the cloud.
It should just be instantly downloaded to a place, to a gigantic hard drive or whatever, and it just lives there. Because yes, fine, like we always scream like keep the footage for longer than 24 hours, but also keep it for more than a week or however long it took this shitty police department to actually do anything.
10 years, you guys.
20, I'll do you forever. How about like if like sex tapes and nudes and dick pics can never get erased and everything lives forever and your search history lives forever? How about we have security cameras with murderers on them? Can they live forever too, or what?
But honestly, like 24 hours?
Right.
It just doesn't make any sense.
So the police are like, guess we better get to work, huh? It's been 11 days. So they start searching everywhere, and they're searching Rock Creek Park and this wilderness spot that's kind of close to her apartment. And so while the police are doing that, the Levys start looking through her phone records, and suddenly they're seeing a lot of phone calls to and from Congressman Gary Condit. Yeah. And they're seeing phone calls on the day she went missing, throughout her time in D.C., and Chandra didn't work with him, but he was on her speed dial.
So I have Long Neck Doyle, whose first name I couldn't remember.
It's Michael!
I know. His neck is so long. It's unnaturally long.
I don't remember the neck. I'm sorry. Where was I? Oh, taking notes.
So Long Neck Doyle tells us
Gary Condit was a career politician who was really coming into his own. He'd been in public office for 20 or 30 years.
This really got me both times. I was like, he's coming into his own after a 30-year career? Condit, what took you so long, girl?
They say he's a congressman on the rise.
Right. He's been in politics for 30 years.
Yeah.
Let me just say one thing about Condit, because we are told by Soledad, we're told by the cops.
Gary Condit denied having any involvement whatsoever with her romantically.
No, he did not.
He didn't?
No! Every single time he is asked the question, he says, I'm not going to answer that question.
He
is not denying it. He's never denied it that I can find.
They totally had a relationship.
I mean, of course they did.
Yeah.
And everyone, Soledad included, is saying he's denied it from the beginning. No, he hasn't. On the stand, under oath, he says, I'm not answering that question.
He's like, I thought we discussed this. I'm not talking about this.
Men are garbage. Men in politics especially.
I know. Yeah, vote.
Yeah.
Vote.
November 3rd.
November 3rd. Hold tight. We'll get back to Gary in a little bit, because now we're going to hear the Chandra story and how she grew up.
So Chandra Levy was born April 14th, 1977. She lived in Modesto, California, hometown to Lacey Peterson, I might add.
Oh, that's right.
So, but then, first of all, you guys, they show a parade of, terrible high school photos of Chandra Levy. Levy. The poor thing. Like, she's got such great hair, but you know, like everybody, it took her years to figure it out. Like, Jillian, when I go missing or am murdered, please don't show my high school photos on the documentary.
Yeah, because that'll be my concern through the tears and the rage, and we're gonna get this goddamn guy. Yeah, I'll worry about your photos.
When you see the photos, you'll understand. Well, you've already seen them.
Yeah, if you've been to one of our live shows when those were a thing, don't worry about Google what a live show was if you don't remember. You've seen most of those photos.
Oh my God,
so
it is
you really got ahead of it, girl. Don't worry about it. But what they're trying to say is that...
And it wasn't until her junior year in high school, she just had a complete turnaround. And she was involved in the Explorer Officer program.
She really liked going out with the cops on their beat. But one reason she later on wanted to go into law enforcement.
She really came out of her shell in high school, and she realized, like, I really want to go to USC. I really want to be in law enforcement. I really want to be in the FBI. And she did all those things. She was doing everything like she set out to do.
And she would like go on like ride-alongs with like the local cops. I was like, oh my God, that's commitment.
I know. So by the fall of 2000, she's 23 years old. She's living her best life, thriving, the quintessential DC experience. And she meets Gary Condit because she and her friend just go to his office to meet him and do like a photo op and pre-selfie. Like, they just go there.
It's kind of cool because like I feel like even now Capitol Hill is pretty accessible. Like, you can just go and walk into your congressperson's office. Like, if you live in AOC's district, like you can go and walk into her office. I love that about Capitol Hill, that you can just kind of go and like be among the politicians. I think that's so really cool. But like, they go to meet him because he's their local congressman from California. And you know, like whoever the secretary was, and maybe I'm a dick for thinking of it like this, but like buzzes into the office and is like, 2 pretty young girls are here. Would you like to come out and say hi?
Congressman Condit himself came out of his inner sanctum and introduced himself. Jennifer Baker said she was interested in an internship, and the congressman offered her one on the spot.
That's just so creepy. Like, that's just not how that should go.
Yeah, I have in my notes, I was like, because I'm not in that scene at all. I know nothing about any of that. So I'm like, is that really how it works? You just walk, like, but isn't Chandra in DC because she has this internship anyway?
Yeah, so Chandra has an internship for the Department of Justice, and she's just there, and like people apply for these internships from all over the country. It's like a huge high honor to like be weeded out and get the internship with your congressman in DC. He just gives it to this Jennifer Baker person because she's cute, and I'm sure she's brilliant. Like, this is no shade to Jennifer Baker.
It's just,
but like, it's shitty because, and it would be one thing if that was where it stopped, but nope. So Jennifer Baker gets the internship, and like a week later, her friend Chandra comes back to visit her. Condit comes back out to say hello. Bada bing, bada boom. They're exchanging phone numbers, and she winds up dead in a park.
Oh my God! So, and the thing is, though, so she has this conversation, bada bing, bada boom, phone numbers are exchanged, as you said. So Michelle, remember her classmate?
Yes.
Michelle is saying that Chandra would do this exhausting thing where she would be...
This sounds insane!
She would be in D.C. and then fly back to USC for weekend classes.
That just sounds bananas.
Bananas. And so Michelle is saying, like...
She flew in from D.C. When we saw her, she was completely transformed. She had highlights in her hair. She was dressing differently. So then that piqued my interest. I was asking her, Chandra, what's going on? Is there a man in your life? Something has to be different. And she began to open up, trying to tell me as much as she could without naming a name.
Like, very quickly, it was super obvious that, like, things had changed once she went to DC. Like, new hair, new clothes, new vibe. And I'm like, girl, she's 23. Like, she's living it up. Don't worry about it. Michelle is like, girl, tell me everything. Are you seeing someone? Like, she just gets a vibe that Chandra's, like, seeing somebody.
And she is.
And she won't say who.
And fucking Condit is married, by the way, you guys.
They always are. They're always married.
Condit is married. So Chandra is essentially seeing a married man.
She would admit that she was seeing someone, but she would give them no details, who, what, why, when, how. But she was saying, I really, really want this relationship to progress. It's really, really important to me. It's a super big deal. I can't tell you anything, but it means a lot to me.
And in fairness to garbage Condit, like, no one ever saw them together that we know of. There's no, I guess, there's plenty of evidence, but like, Chandra to her friends or family never said she was having a relationship with him.
You can't be however old you are and be like close friends with a 23-year-old. I'm sorry. You just can't.
They were absolutely having an affair. And, you know, Gary Condit's office offers to put out a reward for more information. And imagine you're a dirtbag congressman who's having an affair with a 24-year-old girl who vanishes and then is found dead, and you actually didn't kill her, but like now your affair is getting found out.
Right.
Stop being dirtbags, everybody.
We should ask Gary Condit because that's like exactly what happened to him.
Exactly.
He might have a thing or two to say about this.
Exactly.
And the thing is, like, he's interviewed by the police.
When one of the detectives asked if they were having a sexual relationship, Congressman Condon reportedly said he didn't see why that had any bearing on the investigation.
Bitch, it has everything to do with it, especially when you answer.
Exactly.
I don't know why it has anything to do with it. Now it's all about that.
And that's what I was saying. Like, number one, he's not denying it. And number two, you're probably the murderer. I mean, I don't think you're the murderer, but like in this situation, you are the one with a lot to lose. You know what I mean?
Of course. Of course. It's been 30 years. He was just going to get his big break, and now this.
Exactly.
So close, yet so far.
After this, the police declare him not a suspect. They interview him 2 more times, but he's like not even a person of interest in the case.
They were together, but he didn't do it. That's how I feel.
That's what I think. And and the detective says, like,
Condon could have been arrested if my department believed that they had enough probable cause to arrest him. I don't really think that they ever got close to even having probable cause. There just wasn't enough there.
What they're also saying is that they didn't go and search Condon's apartment until 2 months after she was missing. And they're like, we searched it. We didn't find anything, girl. And I'm like, oh, really? After 2 months, you didn't find anything? So then we learned that the Levys are in town and they want to meet with him. He agrees to it. And then it turns out that the dad can't go because he was too, quote, distraught to attend. To which I thought the dad knew that he would rip this bitch limb from limb if he was in the same room with him.
100%.
And that was the wife's decision. She's like, you are not coming with me.
You can't make a scene because if he knows something, then, you could ruin getting any kind of information, even though I would be the dad and be like, let me at him. Verbally.
I know, that would be Steve. Steve would not allow me in that room. But the mother says.
But I had to do what I had to do. So I met him. It was so unreal. It was hard. And asked him various questions where so-and-so he was. And he wanted to shake my hand and give me a hug afterwards. I said, absolutely not.
When she got up to leave, he wanted to give her a hug, and she said, absolutely not. And the music changes to this, like, horror music.
Come on, guy. You want to give her a hug? That is so, like, tone deaf and rude and disrespectful. And just stay out of it. Really, stay out of it.
Yeah, I know. You're lucky you're not in fucking jail, you scumbag.
Idiot.
So, like, this becomes like a total media firestorm. Like we were talking about before, everyone is covering it. It's on the cover of every newspaper, every magazine, every, like, regular news, fucking, a current affair news. Like, everyone is covering it. Right. It's the biggest story in the world. And then all of a sudden, 9/11 happens.
And everything changes, of course.
Literally that day on September 11th, the camera trucks who were parked outside the Levy family's house just disappeared.
We didn't have that advantage any longer where we could keep this case alive in the media.
And also, in the meantime, Gary Condon loses his re-election bid, if anyone's interested in his political career.
So now we learn, okay, you guys, just get ready. Everyone pull over. This is it. Everyone pull over. Everyone pull over. We're about to learn about all the mistakes that got fucking made in this case. Every mistake that could be made. You guys, I don't know if you know this, but my 76-year-old mother investigated this case, and she did the best she could.
Yeah, it's weird. And she was 76 at the time, so
yeah.
much like Gary Condon's career, it's just stuck in one place.
So we learn that, like, the first big mistake was when they went back to Chandra's apartment that first week with the search warrant. One of the first things they see is her laptop, and they go to it right away to search the history. Obviously, they want to see, like, what she was doing.
According to court testimony, during the second visit to Chandra's apartment, a little more than a week after she disappeared, detectives accidentally erased Chandra's internet history on her laptop, losing details about her moves on the day she went missing.
They accidentally erased her search history. And so the thing is...
How do you do that? I feel like there's only one way of doing that, which is, like, clicking on the thing that says erase.
Right, and then it's like, are you sure? And then you have to say yes. And it's like, are you really sure? And then you have to say yes again. It's like, bitch, I'm asking you for a third time. You can't go back now. Would you like to erase all this? And again, you have to remember the time. Like, I know we say, like, nothing is ever erased forever. And that's true. Yeah. But back in the time when they clicked yes 100 times to erase, because they probably didn't know what the hell they were even saying yes to.
I feel like it was like a rookie being like, I thought you wanted me to get the search history. It's asking me if I should erase. And like the seasoned one is like, yeah, erase it.
Just say yes until it goes through. Just click yes until it goes through, you idiots. So, but the thing is,
of doing that.
I know you are. I've seen you do it.
I just lost 9 hours of work.
I've seen you do it.
Oh my God.
Or I've been on the other end of the phone. It's been a nightmare. So the thing is, nothing is ever truly erased, right? And that is true. But in 2001, like, okay, they erase it all. It takes them a month to get it to the computer lab or whatever.
Yeah.
So it takes, much like wrongful convictions, it takes 2 seconds to make the bad thing happen and then an eternity to undo it.
Yep.
So this is, again, valuable time. Because remember, this was the second time they went to the apartment. She's been gone for months now. And they're just wasting this precious time because some idiot erased her search history. Like, I don't even know how you do that. I really don't.
And so when they finally get it back after a month and they realize that one of the last things that she searched on her computer was Rock Creek Park, if that sounds familiar, it's because they originally did a cursory search of Rock Creek Park in the days after she went missing, but they didn't find anything.
Oh, no. They screwed that up too.
One of the many mistakes was apparent miscommunication. The Metropolitan Police Department was to search within 100 yards of all roads and trails. That did not happen. The police swept within 100 yards of roads, leaving unsearched trails in the park.
Who doesn't search the trails in the park? What are you talking about? Like, what else is there to search in a creepy park? Like, oh, let's just search the main road that is next to the park. Search the trails. They're all new here. It was everyone's fucking first day.
I know. And so months go by, there's no leads. And then in May 2002, we all of a sudden we're just getting this 911 call.
Yes, Park. Yeah, hi. My name's Phil. I'm at Broad Branch Road. Mm-hmm. And I was walking my dog in the woods this morning, and I came across a human skull.
How this man is not hysterical, I don't know how people go through the day without being hysterical over accidentally spilling coffee on their knee. This man finds a human skull in the woods and he is calmly reporting it to 911. Like he's fine. It's not a life-defining moment.
I heard that and I was like, that's not Patrick. I don't know who it is. Not Patrick, though. I know who it's definitely not. And that's Patrick.
This guy's like, hello? I was walking my dog. I'd like to report that I found a human skull.
And the thing is, though, there's part of me that understands the feeling of just trying to be as calm as possible.
I know.
Because
Yeah.
If you don't, you're so close to just spiraling.
Yeah,
so there's a human skull here, and you don't want to go, and you don't want to be on the phone any longer than you have to be because you just want to get the fuck home and take 8 showers. Totally. So you're just like, my dog found a skull, and I didn't do it. It was here when I came here.
I know.
So this is a year later. It's May 2002, right? It's a year after she went missing, and they go to the site. And it's horrible.
It's deep in the woods. It's 4 miles away from her apartment, you guys. 4 miles away from her apartment. They find everything. They find her Walkman, a USC sweatshirt. We see all of it. Leggings, sports bra, a, quote, variety of bones. They confirm it's her through dental records. And then we get, you guys, this is terrible. We get all these, awful details.
Some of the interesting things that were found on the scene, her running pants, her tights were tied. The fact that they had the knots in them does suggest that they were used to bind her. And it also suggests that there was some kind of sexual assault that occurred.
And they do an autopsy, and it's they determine that the manner of death is homicide, but there's only so much they can tell because it's been a year.
Right.
And what is wrong? I don't understand. How is this police department allowed to make this many mistakes? If this was a public school and this was the equivalent of state exams, the government would come in and take over. How is the FBI not taking over?
If I were anywhere in that department, I'd say that idiot who erased the search history, get him away. I don't want him near me. I don't want to see him. I want him to transfer him to Idaho. I don't want him anywhere near. And don't send him out to look for the bones either. Don't give him a donut. I'm going right to the stereotype now, and I'm sorry for that. Usually I don't do that.
And then there's more mistakes because they've got the clothing and they see that there's maybe some biological DNA evidence on it, but then they can't use it because there was no policy in place in the police department for these cops to have their own personal DNA on file.
If you work in a DNA lab, your DNA from you is in their system because there could be contamination. So just because you have unknown male DNA, it could potentially have come from one of the crime scene search technicians who processed the scene, anybody who handled the evidence afterwards.
They find male DNA on the clothing, but they can't use it. It's completely worthless.
It's been compromised. But the thing about that DNA, though, is that they do confirm, however, that the DNA did not match Gary Condit. And it's never been matched to this day. It's never been matched.
So this is where we start to get like what happened, how did she get there? You know, it was 4 miles from her apartment, and like this one detective who I like, but he just like, he's not trying very hard. And he's saying, well, here's the theory.
Chandra has some time to kill. She's getting ready to go home. She looked on her computer, was scouting out activities, wanted to check out Rock Creek Park, went for a walk or a jog, and at some point she was assaulted and died of her injuries.
No. So she just went in the middle of packing.
Exactly.
You know what I want to do? Go for a jog. Leave my phone, my keys, my wallet. It's weird that her Walkman was there 100%. Like, that is odd. But you bring your keys. How are you going to get in? And it's not like they said they found, like, her apartment key just so that she didn't bring her whole keychain or whatever. They didn't find any of that I know of.
That's the whole thing, is that, like, you know, we get this theory later on that, like, it seems like she was going to meet somebody because she had told her friends over and over again, A, I'm not a jogger. B, I never want to go into Rock Creek alone. That's fucking terrifying. Why would I do that? And a theory that we get down the road is that
her apartment was very neat, orderly. A blanket on the floor is out of place. But just outside her door, there is a washer and dryer. My thinking was that she got a phone call from somebody that she wanted to meet, and rather hastily, she grabbed the blanket, just threw it inside, ran out, no phone, nothing else.
she was actually going to meet somebody and maybe not coming home for the night or whatever. Was it Condit? Was it a rendezvous in the park? Who fucking knows? But like this detective who has this theory that she went jogging
in the middle of packing.
In the middle of packing, and then like 4 miles away from her apartment in the deep, deep, deep woods of this obscure park. No, that's not what happened.
So now they're looking at similar crimes in the area, and this is a name that you will hear several variations of moving forward. They learn about a man named Ingmar Guandike.
Ingmar Guandike came to this country illegally and fled war-torn El Salvador. He was poorly educated, did not speak English very well, pretty much stuck at the bottom of the American social ladder.
You know, he's a bad guy. After Chandra Levy had vanished, but before she was discovered, he had been arrested twice because he was stalking women in Rock Creek Park and attacking them. This happened to 2 women. Both women beat his skinny little ass and got the cops, and he got arrested both times. But now they're saying like, this happened close to after when Chandra disappeared, and we know now that she was found in that area, so this must be the guy.
Can I say one thing real quick?
Yeah.
I don't love the narrative of the guy coming to this country illegally, escaping a war-torn country and being a rapist. That story is true for this person in particular. His name is Ingmar Guandike. I'm saying that name because some people don't know that name. We'll get there in a minute. It felt very, like one person is even like, he is just the bottom of the barrel when it comes to social climbing or whatever.
Exactly.
And I'm like, this narrative is like not cool. I don't know when this came out. It doesn't matter when it came out. That's a stupid thing for me to even say. But it felt very like, okay.
Yeah.
So this guy, just real quick before we move forward, he was sentenced to 10 years for those crimes of attacking women.
They think that he's probably the guy who did this to Chandra, but there's no evidence of it until 6 years later.
I got a phone call from an attorney who said that he had a client who might have some information about the Levy case. And his client said that he was in jail with a young man from El Salvador, Guandike, and then Guandike confessed to him that he had attacked and killed Chandra Levy in Rock Creek Park.
So this guy is what they call a jailhouse informant, which are notoriously unreliable. Basically, in a lot of cases, cops go to these people in jail and they're like, you were cellmates with that Guandike guy. If he happened to tell you anything about killing Chandra Levy and you want to tell us about it, we might be able to knock 10 years off your sentence, just so you know.
So we learn about this inmate, Armando Morales, and he calls the legal team with a tip about the case. And he's like, look, so Ingmar Guandike confessed to me, admits everything. He totally did it. He's your guy. Take these handcuffs off me, please.
Yes. And so then we get this other detective, and this is the one who does not know how to pronounce Guandike's name.
Okay. And it's not just that the person does not know how to pronounce it. It's that he guesses wrong every time. Every time it's a new combination. It's like a word scramble, and the letters are in a different order every goddamn time he says this person's name.
And you should hear, because he's the one that tells us that, like,
where her body was discovered was always a concern because it just didn't fit her pattern. And Guandike seems like a good suspect, But as you start to look at other things and put things together, suddenly he's not my suspect.
The problem with this jailhouse informant is that the story that he's giving, that, he attacked her in the middle of the woods while she was jogging. He stabbed her. He's like, it doesn't fit her pattern.
Right.
But he just keeps saying, Enguique. He says Enguique.
Enguique. Guanduque.
Guineke.
There's not a single person on that set that's going to correct him because the shit is gold. They're not correcting him.
Guendiki. It's just like, I was laughing. And like, this guy, I don't think he's the guy who murdered Chandra Levy, but he is human fucking garbage. So It is okay to laugh at this guy getting his name wrong.
Because then I thought he was doing it so often that I thought I had the name wrong.
I know.
And I kept going back in my notes to the point where I was just copying and pasting the name that I knew was right. So I was like, every time he says Enrique Vasquez, which is my so-called life reference, every time he calls him that, I'm like, oh, he means Ingmar Guanduque. Okay. Right. He ended up inadvertently gaslighting me because I'm like, who is this person he's talking about?
Guanduque. But he also says that, like, this guy is not my suspect because these other two women, they were attacked after Chandra was murdered. And this is such a good point. He's saying
these women were attacked after the murder. And so that would mean that Enguique would have come back to the scene of the murder to commit a couple of other crimes. If he were to be arrested for robbing, he would become a prime suspect in a murder case.
Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Right. So they're like, there's no evidence. They don't think it's him. Cut to Soledad.
Nevertheless, prosecutors went ahead and charged Ingmar Guanduque with first-degree murder in the death of Chandra Levy. Guanduque pled not guilty to the crime.
Nevertheless, they charged him with first-degree murder in the death of Chandra Levy. And I'm like, fucking welcome to America. Jesus Christ. He attacked those women. Garbage, 100%. But the fact that they're like, there's no way that Guadalupe Enrique Vasquez did this.
Yeah.
And Soledad's like, well, we charged him anyway.
The only reason I'm not fine with him, like, getting a sentence of life and forever is because it's not justice for Chandra. You know what I mean?
Exactly, 100%.
So whatever. So the case goes to trial. He gets convicted.
Right.
He gets 60 years in jail. Chandra's mother shows up to make the victim impact statement, and she says to him,
Guanduque doesn't speak English, so that puts us all at disadvantage because you use an interpreter. Pointed to him, and I said, did you kill my daughter?
He did not need an interpreter to hear or to understand what she told them. I believe Mr. Guanduque said, I feel sorry for your loss, but I did not kill your daughter.
And even the mom is like, I assumed that the police must have knew what they were doing, but, like, I had my doubts.
Yeah, she didn't know about the deleting the search history. I promise you she didn't know. Or else she wouldn't trust them. Truly.
Totally.
And it sounds like a joke, but if she knew, that's why it took them a month to even take another step forward.
Yeah.
She necessarily wouldn't believe them.
Yeah. So this Ingmar Guanduque gets 60 years in prison for a murder that he probably didn't commit.
Right.
And then this is also bananas. A year later, some cop is like investigating some other murder and comes across this like stack of interviews that the informant, who is the only evidence the prosecution had against Guanduque, was this jailhouse informant. This cop comes to find out that this informant is like basically an informant for every case on the books. And the fact that the prosecution didn't tell the defense that this Morales guy was a jailhouse informant in other cases is what is called a Brady violation. And so basically Guanduque gets a new trial, and instead of doing the new trial, they just drop all the charges and deport the guy.
Yeah, and you'll learn all about Brady violations in episode 82 of Making a Murderer on Lady Pates. Queen Casey tells us all about Brady violations. We get quite an education. I believe it's episode 82 or 83. Check it out.
Exactly.
It sort of ends with like no leads and no information, and I'm sitting here enraged, which is not new at all, just to be fair. It's a very comfortable place for me to be. But it's like everyone failed her, it seems like. Like, it's such a travesty to me. Like, even this like powerful, yes, we made a joke that 30 years and he's just getting his footing in political, but the power dynamic of like this young 24-year-old girl like trying to get her footing in politics in DC, and he was in a position of power and he failed her in a sense. And the police deleting the goddamn search history, and then it all started with her father having to call the cops a second time to be like, can you give a shit about my kid? Like, I know. Just even from the beginning, like it was a failure all across the board.
And it's also like the most famous cases of the last century. Why is there not an update? I couldn't find an update anywhere on the internet. But then there's this other completely weird thing that we learn about.
A few days after her internship ended, Chandra called her aunt and left a telephone message saying, "I'm not sure what I'm going to do for the summer. I have big news to tell you." It wasn't some kind of response from her FBI application. The big news message, one of the biggest puzzles of Chandra Levy's disappearance.
We don't know what that news is. And I'm thinking, like, if it was any kind of like job offer or something official, that could be found out. Like some company could say that could be on the books somehow. Like, and so I'm wondering, like, that to me could only be some kind of relationship news or something that wouldn't have a paper trail, you know? Like,
I was like, was she pregnant?
And we'll never know. We'll never know.
I know. And then, like, I'm sure there are people out there who know way more than we do about this case because I really have not looked into this. But I'm like, I guess I don't think that Condit did it or had it done. I don't think that Guandique did it. So I don't fucking know. But, like, somebody knows.
I know.
Somebody knows what happened. You guys, if you're a fan of the podcast, come forward.
Yes.
DM us and tell me who did it.
Please. So here we are, just screaming into the void. Great. And another episode of the books.
Oh my God, you guys, we did the Chandra Levy case. This title of it has too many words. I don't remember what it's called. But we did the Chandra Levy case, girl.
Who killed Chandra? That's the rest of the title. I got you.
You guys, if you want more fun, laughs, good times.
Fun, laughs, good times.
Join us on the Patreon. Over like 150 full bonus episodes. We're doing The Vow. It is bananas.
Oh, look, it's that. It's a lot of things. It makes me feel, I'm very tense all the time. It's horrible. But it's great, but it's horrible.
We're building a page on the website that's going to tell you all the series that we've covered so we don't have to say it every time. But it's like Lacey Peterson and the Menendez brothers and
the Jinx, again, Making a Murderer, Don't F with Cats, Tiger King, all of the long form things that have 6+ episodes. We got you covered.
So come hang out with us there. Get some merch if you want to donate some money to charity. All of the money that we get is going to charity. Coming up next, you guys, we're doing that much anticipated documentary, Athlete A. So stay tuned for the trailer for that and our fabulous and hilarious outtakes. And we love you.
We love you. And please DM us if you know what the hell happened to Chandra Levy. I really, like, it's heartbreaking to me. Like, it's so sad. I need to know. Help me. Thank you.
All right, we love you guys.
We love you. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
I just wanted to call you. I am very nervous talking to you about it, but I think it would help bring justice to the people who have been affected by USA Gymnastics and their policies.
This was the most explosive story in several years, yet it was coming out of a small little newsroom.
Larry Nassar had been the team doctor for USA Gymnastics women's program for 29 years when we got these allegations about him.
I was like, does he do this to you? She said, yeah, like he does it to me too.
And I said, we need to call the authorities. Steve Penny, he said, no, USA Gymnastics will take care of calling the police.
USA Gymnastics, negotiating with Larry, agreed to lie to people, and that shows a cover-up.
Dealing with an organization that didn't give a rat's ass about children.
We were going full bore. Nassar wasn't our target. Our target was USA Gymnastics.
You are the president of USA Gymnastics. If you receive a complaint of sexual misconduct, do you turn it over to local authorities? No.
We love winners in this country, but this notion that we would sacrifice our young to win disgusts us.
We were all made so obedient that when we knew there was a sexual abuser, we would never say anything. We felt utterly powerless.
You okay?
I've been pounding water because of my throat. Just a little water burp, not a problem. Still cold.
You look like you were choking.
I'm sorry. You know when it comes up and it's still freezing cold? Just a little water burp, everybody. It happens. We normalize shit on this podcast. Water burps are okay. Everybody has them. Everybody poops. Everybody water burps. Welcome to the outtakes.
He was giving me very strong, like, Ichabod Crane vibes.
Ichabod Crane doesn't have a neck.
No, he does. The Headless Horseman
The Headless Horseman doesn't. Okay, fine. I'm sorry, spooky season. Forgive me.
Or Nguiki.
And the dad tells us that her nickname was Little Ladybug and his was Big Cheese.
That's really sweet. I didn't have a nickname for my dad, and he didn't have one for me. It was like Jilly Bean, I guess, but I didn't call him like Big Prosciutto or something. Like, I didn't call him something Italian.
Big Cheese is a weird nickname. I'm going to go ahead and say it.
Nguiki.
Holy shit! We're going to get sued!